Welcome to the Deep Dive. We're the place you come to when you want us to unpack your sources and really pull out the key bits of knowledge. Today, we're doing a really unique deep dive. We're looking at an analysis from an anonymous blogger, someone who claims there are hidden messages buried inside public events. Yeah, the source itself is from Reddit. It's a blog post by someone called Serial Brain 2. The title is Serial Brain 2 Decodes Q Trump's Hidden Message, Strock, Kate, and the Soda.
Okay.
So our job today isn't really to say if this is true or not, but more to show you how this blogger connects all these dots, these seemingly random events, to build this really complex hidden story.
It's fascinating, isn't it? Not just the claims, but the actual method, how they take, tweets, public testimony, even tiny visual details, and
Right.
weave it all together into one big narrative. It's quite a process of interpretation we're going to explore. We'll lay out their specific points, the conclusions they come to, so you get a full picture of their take on things.
Okay, let's dive in. Where does this whole thing start? The blogger's main idea, their premise, is that FBI agent Peter Strzok, despite that very public hearing, was actually controlled an asset.
Right.
And they point to something called Q1122. Now, for anyone not deep in this, Q is this anonymous poster, central to this whole theory, and the numbers are a specific post. This Q1122 says, trust Sessions, trust Rye, trust Kansas, trust Horowitz, trust Huber. These names, Rye, Kansas, Horowitz, Huber. They're figures the Q narrative often talks about, supposedly working behind the scenes. So the blogger looks at Strzok's hearing, sees him apparently only speaking when his FBI lawyers nod, and interprets that as proof he was controlled by Rye and now works for us.
Which, immediately makes you ask, okay, if he's controlled, why put him out there in public in such a visible hearing? And the blogger's answer is basically, it wasn't about answering questions. It was about delivering a message, a specific coded message. They back this up with another Q post, Q1288, which apparently says, Peter Strock, Deputy Assistant Director of the Counterintelligence Cooperating Witness Power removed. They use this to say, see, cooperating witness status confirmed.
Okay, so if he's delivering a message, what is it? The blogger connects two things for the first part. First, a Trump tweet, July 11th, 2018. That's the day before Strzok's hearing. The tweet talks about ex-FBI layer Lisa Page defying a subpoena, working on the rigged witch hunt with her lover, FBI agent Peter Strzok. And the key thing the blogger points out, layer is in all caps.
All caps.
Then the very next day, Strzok is testifying. And he says this, quote, at no time in any of these texts did those personal beliefs ever enter into the realm of any action I took. Furthermore, this isn't just me sitting here telling you don't have to take my word for it. At every step, at every investigative decision, there are multiple layers of people above me and multiple layers of people below me, all of whom were involved in all of these decisions.
Right. And the blogger jumps on that word, layers, repeatedly used by Strzok. They see it as a direct echo, totally intentional, of Trump's tweet with layer in caps. That's message part 1, according to this analysis.
Okay. And the analysis doesn't stop there. It moves on to Lisa Page. The blogger brings up a Trump rally in Great Falls. Trump says, we broke a lot of records. And the interpretation, records, sounds like LP for Lisa Page, meaning we broke Lisa Page.
Wow, okay, that's quite a phonetic leap they're making there.
It is. And they try to support it with a New York Post article. Headline was something like, GOP lawmakers Lisa Page less smug than Peter Strzok. Apparently, Rep. Matt Gaetz found Page more credible in her closed-door testimony because, the thinking goes, she didn't have to deliver a public message.
And this all loops back again to that Q1288 post, the one about Strzok, because it also supposedly mentions Lisa Page, attorney with the FBI's Office of the General Counsel, cooperating witness, power removed.
So tying both their statuses together.
Exactly. Now, this is where it gets, even more specific and frankly kind of weird. The blogger focuses on a detail from Strzok's hearing. After a break, he comes back with a Coca-Cola bottle.
Right, the soda.
Yeah, and the claim is, at 8 minutes, 16 seconds in the video feed, a Washington Post cameraman does something odd. They supposedly zoom in randomly on Strzok's mouth, then shift the camera to focus right on the Coke bottle, specifically showing the name Kate printed on it, from that Share a Coke campaign they were running. Okay, so the blogger is saying, this zoom, this framing, is not random. They invoke mockingbird territory here. That's code in these circles for deep state media manipulation. Agents posing as journalists. The argument is the cameraman knew. He was trained. He knew the message Strzok was sending with that bottle.
And there's more. At 8.51, Strzok takes a drink, puts the bottle down differently, and the cameraman adjusts again. Adjusts to keep the bottle with Kate on it in the frame. The blogger claims the cameraman even sacrificed the centering over stroke just to keep that bottle visible.
And they calculate the odds, apparently. They say there is only a 0.4% chance of the name Kate randomly being on that bottle. Extremely low probability, they argue. So the conclusion is Kate means something specific. It's part 2 of the message Trump wanted sent, along with the layers idea.
Yeah, the blogger basically says Stretzog's whole appearance was theater, staged, all choreographed to get these messages, layers, and Kate out there. Everything they claim was already sorted behind the scenes with Ray and the FBI lawyers.
And they describe this whole setup with a phrase, military intelligence in all her splendor, which really paints a picture of this incredibly complex, almost supernaturally guided plan they believe is unfolding.
So the obvious question then is, who is Kate? If it's a message, who does it refer to? According to the blogger, Kate is Kate Brown, the governor of Oregon.
Governor Kate Brown. Okay, and how do they connect her?
This leads to something the blogger calls the Hammond thing, which they say is about uranium and uranium-1.
Ah, uranium-1, that controversial deal involving Russian acquisition of uranium assets. Okay.
And the blogger's version of the Hammond case is that these Oregon ranchers were violently harassed by federal agencies, BLM, FBI, to force them off their land. Why? To allow, quote, the further placement of mining rights into Russian hands, connecting it back to uranium-1.
And they bring in an informant figure.
Yeah, William D. Campbell.
Yeah.
An American businessman. Apparently, he gave info about Russian criminal networks tried to stop the uranium-1 deal, the Rosatom transaction, they call it, but it was just ignored.
And the suggestion is people like Rosenstein and Mueller were just pawns in this, following orders from these hidden layers above them.
Exactly. And Governor Kate Brown. The blogger highlights what they see as her swift and active complicity in the Hammond situation. They point to articles where she appealed to Obama, pushed federal officials for a swift resolution against people occupying a wildlife refuge related to the Hammonds.
So the final connection the blogger makes is Stretzog was told to show Kate on the bottle because the whole Hammond situation, which they link to uranium-1, implicates Governor Kate Brown and also implicates these many layers within the federal government. That's the hidden meaning, supposedly, linking Trump's tweet, the Coke bottle, Kate Brown, and the Hammond uranium-1. It all ties back, they say, to another Q post, Q 1675.
It's definitely a complex web they're weaving. And then there's one final piece, what the blogger calls the usual icing on the cake for the time traveler theorists.
Oh boy, okay. What's that?
It's a tweet from Donald Trump, but from way back in October 2012. The tweet says, the Coca-Cola company is not happy with me. That's okay. I'm still drinking that garbage. Thank you for the lafty.
2012, so years before any of this.
Years before. And the blogger interprets this as Trump somehow hinting, way back then, that he'd put Coca-Cola to the task one day. Like it was all part of a very, very long game.
Wow, so that detail really cements for the blogger this idea of a grand, meticulously planned, long-term strategy, almost predictive. And they promise even more connections coming, linking all sorts of other figures and events, Rosenstein, pipelines, NATO, Putin, the Queen of England, all part of the same divine melody written on the B2 scale, as they put it, ending with nobody escapes this. Nobody. It's a huge, all-encompassing picture they paint.
So there you have it. That's our deep dive into how Serial Brain 2 reads these hidden messages. We've traced how they connect a Trump tweet, Peter Strzok's words, a Coke bottle with Kate, Governor Kate Brown.
Covers the Hammonds.
It's the uranium-1. It's quite the construction.
It really is. And beyond whether you buy into this specific theory or not, what this deep dive shows is just how these incredibly detailed narratives can be built from public information. It really highlights that human drive to find patterns, to find meaning and connection, sometimes in places where the connections are, well, let's just say open to interpretation. It definitely makes you think about the importance of critically looking at information, especially when it's presented as unlocking some kind of hidden truth, and just observing how these patterns get identified and woven together.
Absolutely. So what stands out to you after hearing how this narrative gets put together? Does exploring this kind of decoding, the search for hidden signals, change how you might look at public statements or just events in the news? Maybe it makes you think about how easy or hard it is to construct such elaborate theories. Definitely something to mull over as you go about your day.